Hello folks, Clyde Lindsay here at Leechburg Lights. Thanks for taking the time to check out today's video. And as you can see, today's video is on xLights, and I'd invite you all to go to www.xlights.org, as you see here on the screen, and just scroll down from the main page and make sure you click on the donate button, and hopefully you'll make a donation to help support the awesome software, the developers, the content creators, the people that really help us do some amazing things for our own shows. So I want to show that off to you today. And next, what I want to show you is I want to show you one of the new releases that has come out within the past day or two or three. Is release 32. There's a lot of nice small additions, things that are nice to have, a couple of bug fixes that have improved from the last production release, which was 30, which is incidentally the last time I had done a video. So with that being said, I want to make sure that you are also, whenever you click on download, that you're getting the you're going to either select the 32-bit or the 64-bit. Make sure you select the 64-bit if your processor is in fact a 64-bit. If you don't know, I want you to go into any file menu. This is really simple for you to do, and just click on any click on your file menu, right click on this PC and go to properties, and this should pop up a box that's off my screen right here, and this should tell you the processor that you have in here. What you can do is you can look at this and you can copy or type in a search bar on Google and go find out what processor you have. You can say, is this a 64-bit? Well, obviously I do have a 64-bit operating system, x64 based processor. If you want to learn more about what a 64 bit system is versus a 32-bit system, the processing power utilizes far more memory. For example, this computer runs roughly 16 gigabytes of RAM. It has a 2 terabyte hard drive. I'm not showing off, I'm just saying that there's a lot of options. And if you're running an older system, you might have to run a 32-bit processor. You happen to run a 32-bit processor if it's a single core. If you're just, dabbling a little bit, maybe 32 bits all you need because you only have 2 gigs of RAM in that computer. But the 64-bit is the way to go. The other thing I want to tell you is we have the Queen Mary Vamp plugins. Make sure that whenever you're selecting the Queen Mary Vamp plugin, which is what helps you get your beats in your beat tracker. We'll go through that a little bit here real quick as we open up a sequence. But make sure you get the one that matches along with your operating system. So if you have the Queen Mary, or if you have the 32-bit 32-bit system, make sure you download a 32-bit version, and make sure you download the 32-bit version of the Queen Mary Vamp plugin. The same with the 64. The 64-bit xLights has to be the same as the 64-bit Queen Mary Vamp plugin. So make sure that you're making the correct download whenever it comes to that. So with all of the introduction here out of the way, what I want to do is I would like to take you through a very interesting effect, something that is not very much talked about, but is coming into the light and is very helpful for certain parts of the song. And the reason why I talk about the Queen Mary Vamp plugins, and if you didn't see how to install them or how to load them on your computer, I have another video. You can go ahead and probably, I might put a card up here above and link it in the description or something to that effect, where you can actually go see the other video on how to install the Queen Mary Vamp plugin. But this is one of the things that helps you create timing marks inside your sequence really, really quickly, really easily, and is very accurate. So what I want to do is let's go into, now I've already created this sequence. You should be able to hear the audio there, and I have actually gotten some good screen sharing software. It's upgraded now, and I'm able to do a little more with it. So what we're going to do is I've already started the sequence. Well, let's go into settings, and we can go into sequence settings. Now there's a shortcut to this, so you don't have to do 2 clicks. You can actually go over to this cog over here, settings, click on it, and it brings up the same box. And what I'm going to do is go to timings, and from timings, this shows the active timings that are listed in the sequence. That blue one there is a timing. And let's go ahead and click New. Now, if you don't have the Queen Mary Vamp plugin, this box will be much smaller, okay? But we have the Queen Mary Vamps plugin set up here. And if you drop down, you can look and you can find a couple different things. The ones that I find that are the most helpful are bars and beats, and the other one is the note onsets. Now, I'm going to use the note onset, and I'll show you why, because of the effect that we're going to select. I usually just go with kind of all of the defaults. If you don't like how it turns out, and you'll see what I mean when we go further, you can come back in here, rerun the note onset. You might have to change the timing name to note onsets 1, or not. It doesn't matter. But you can't have two timings that are actually the same name. So we'll just go ahead and click OK, and it will process the audio, and it lays out our timings right there for us. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to delete this other timing because I don't need it. I'm going to create another new timing, which I'll call bars. And bars and beat tracker bars right there. Now bars is nice because bars is meant for a whole measure of timing. So if depending on the timing in the song, this is musical clef reading and understanding, like sheet music, if you understand it, and it's okay if you don't, but if there's 4 beats in a measure in a song, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a bar. 4 beats is 1 bar. Or if you have like a waltz, it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that there is also a bar because 3 of those beats go together into 1 bar, or we also call them measures. But that's how we'll refer to them. So sequencing in the bars level is nice because you can lay down a bigger effect, or one effect over a longer period of time. And then also we can go in and we can do the actual physical beats. And we'll click OK, and we'll just go with the defaults here. So these are the 3 most commonly used Queen Mary Vamp plugins that I use for my timings. I sometimes will come in here and add a timing track. It'll be like a junk track, or on the fly. I usually call it on the fly, and that's if I'm doing some things specific. So I selected this song because it is kind of pop, it's kind of rock, it's kind of upbeat, and there's a lot of action in it. And the effect that I want to focus on for it today pretty much is going to be the VU effect. And I haven't done a video on any of the effects in quite a little while, so I figured today was a good time. And I've worked with some other folks in the groups and in the online Zoom sessions and so forth, where we've actually gone through and shown how some of the different functionalities of the VU effect are rendered. So what I'm going to bring up is I'm going to go into my mega tree, and that would be this right here. I'm just gonna go here now. I don't want you to have to worry about seeing my whole display. I just want to worry about the model preview, and I have a feeling my head is right there is the box. So this is going to be fun. There we go. So we'll make it a little bigger. Got the mega tree set up, and I'm just going to lay down the VU meter. Now, if you have shortcut keys, you can use your fingers, and the letter V, I don't know if it's pre-assigned, but I know I assigned it in my key bindings. If I push the lowercase letter V, that should lay down the VU meter. Now there's a number of functionalities that you can use in the VU meter with the effect that I want to go through a couple of them and try to kind of help you understand a couple things about it. My understanding of this, and they might not all be true, because I'm sure Keith is going to watch this video and say, "Oh no, Clyde, you got it all wrong," and he's probably right. But hey, it works for me whenever I'm sequencing, and that's why I'm sharing this with you anyway. So with this in mind, if you don't know where the UV meter is, it's up here in the very top right. It's here. You can click and drag if you choose not to use a shortcut key. I have shortcut keys. They are in another video that I'll post a link in the description for, and you'll be able to go to that video and download my actual key bindings file, and shows you how to install them. And then there's actually the key that tells you what each key does. However, some of the 2017 effects, such as the shapes, have not been added into those. But there's still time that you could learn how to do it yourself if you want to put your a little bit of work into it. But there's only a couple new effects. So getting back to the VU effect, what we see here is we see what's called the waveform, and that would be this up here. And what xLights is doing with the VU meter is reading this physical waveform that is listed, and it's overlaying it using the colors I've selected in the color palette onto my mega tree. Now, If I had a matrix, it'd be much easier to show you all this. It'd be a little more flat, but I've got the mega tree, and I think that most people do just have the mega tree. So the waveform here is kind of useful. It gives kind of a little bit of depth and a little bit of movement and so forth, left to right. I also invite you to look at your layer setting box where you can come down here and rotate by 90 degrees. That gives it a whole different kind of feel to the effect. You know, it's kind of like driving down a bumpy road. It looks like there's some potholes all over the place. Maybe you want to go backwards down that bumpy road. Maybe you want to flip it vertical. You can go and have it upside down. This exactly laid in upside down. So let's go back to normal. And then let's go up here and go to the type. Now, you'll also notice there's a slider here. It's called bars. That's the number of bars that are actually taken up across the model. So where we had a much thinner, if you can see there, the bouncing, it's only utilizing one bar is being spread across the entire prop. If we go to 4, now you have 4 bars that are being spread across the prop. Now I only have 32 strings on my mega tree, so if I go to 32, that's pretty much the max that I'm gonna get for resolution wise. So you can see there it's just spinning. It looks like it has its own individual pixel for each line. If you have a really big matrix, the maximum I think is 100. So you're kind of a little bit kind of stuck. But there's also something here in the layer setting box I want to show you. If you right click, you can go to what we call oversize the buffer. And now you can see it's kind of bigger than the buffer. I don't know exactly what it is. I believe it's 400%. Keith will correct me as I say this. He'll be yelling at me on the phone. So with that being said, I'm just going to double click and make it the normal buffer. So I'm going to just exist here right at about the 32 mark. And that's all I can use. So keep that in mind. Okay, we've got a couple other things. We've got the spectrogram. This is going to be the one that most people are going to be excited to use. And this is where it bounces with the music. If you kind of like the equalizer effect type thing, and you have a good beat, you can see here that it's reading right from the waveform, and it's bouncing right to the beat. Now, I think if we play with the slider a little more, we might get a little more definition. No, not really. We're still stuck at that 32, because that's how many strings my mega tree is. If we go less, it kind of it kind of takes not as much of the mega tree up. So we'll go back to 32. We can actually type it in there. And we'll let you listen to it, and you can see it bounce as you hear it. So there's a lot of awesome parts of the music that the waveform can pick up, that the VU meter can pick up. We can go down to we already did waveform. We can do volume bars. Okay, so volume bars is basically doing the exact same thing that our waveform was doing, only it is the sensitivity of the sound going all the way up to the top, or as quiet or as loud as the music is, as it is displayed here in the form. Not the waveform itself, but the volume of it. So as it gets further into here, then what you'll notice is that you have a higher high or a lower low. Whenever it's softer, the music kind of goes with that.
The snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
A little quieter there, so it's much lower. So now we have, that's 3 of the options. Now we have sensitivity, or I'm sorry, the on type. And this would be, I believe...
The snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
Now you can see that it's kind of pulsating. And what it's doing is it's going on, and it's going on to the waveform. It's reading the waveform, and it's not bouncing to a beat. It's not bouncing to any timing marks at this point. It's just going with what the sound is. If you and what's nice is if you're trying to do like a pulsating to a part or of a song, this makes kind of a kind of nice addition. I will come up here and invite you to try changing the colors to find something that's a little more suited. The other thing that you can do is you can go in here, if you don't know the color curve, the color curve is a wonderful tool to have. We can activate the color curve and add one. We can use one color palette and designate more than one color to any specific color palette. And so let's say I want to have yellow and red together on one effect. Okay, so kind of like a Halloween color or a fall color. So now you have this yellow, and as the effect goes from left to right, so does the color. It goes from yellow, and you can see it slowly changing to red. And with this kind of on UV meter effect that you can create, you can have this color change without having to have this this change here. Now, let me go in and explain how to use the color curves, because I know I did that kind of quick. I'm going to just, these are selectors. You can just slide these wherever you like. And to create a new one, you just double click, and when you do, it allows you to it creates this selector. And then if you double click on the selector, it brings up the color selector, and you can pick one color. And then if you want to add more, you can double click again, and we'll add another color. And then if you want to double click again, you can add another color. So the other thing that we can do is we can size these the way that we want them. So if we want this to take up the first quarter of the effect, we put this to the front. We can click and drag, and when we hold the click button, the left click mouse button down, we can slide this. See how that says 25.0? It says the physical time of the effect, and then it also says the percentage of this bar. So we're at the 25% mark. Now, if we want this right at the 50% mark, we can time it out that way as well. Click, drag, and hold. Click, drag, and hold, and we're already on the 75%. Now, the other thing that we can show you is that there's also this blend mode where it says gradient, and we can change it to random, which will come up with the random colors for us, or we can say no gradient, none, no blending mode. And when we do, we have solid blocks of color that we can have selected from. So if you have like an arch chase segment, you can set this to go with the first bounce. If you have 4 beats and you want the first beat to be pink, the second beat to be blue, the third one to be green, and the fourth one to be purple, this is how you can do that, and you just set your effect up in such a manner. So if we go ahead and select this, this is 8 beats here. So we know this is 4 beats, 4 beats here and then 4 beats here. So we have 8 beats. So if we play it, you can see it bounce and change the color.
The snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
So that's something else helpful I hope that you get from the video. So moving on with the VU effect, we'll go ahead and select the color on. And in this respect, I'm just going to change back to the standard color palette. And I believe we can select a couple of them here. So I'm still using the same effect for the tree, but you can see with every kind of like beat or change in pitch or change in the music, it's actually catching that change, and it changes the color accordingly.
The snow is falling again.
And if you want a little bit more diversity, obviously load up the color palette with what you want. You can even put black in there, they'll turn it off.
The snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
So there you go. That's the color on. Then we also have the intensity wave. We'll go ahead and add that. I'll take some of these colors out of here. And, I might not have selected it. Okay, we did. So what this is an intensity wave. So every time it feels some sort of intensity, it's going to send a wave. And it looks like it's automatically going from right to left. What if we select 2 colors? Let's have a look at that. So now we have a blending of 2 colors, and I think it's sending each of the colors and mixing them at the same time. So now we've got blue, red, green, blue. You can see how it kind of cycles through the colors there. And then I have a feeling if we rotate this, we can get sort of a bars effect. Yep, that's exactly what I thought. We can rotate 180. We can also do counterclockwise, which is up, and obviously the down. So once again, some more functionality in the layer setting box using the buffer tab. You can use the render style and the transformation to really work with the UV effect. From here, we'll go ahead and we'll select down with pulse, and pulse is exactly what it looks like. Now, you'll notice that pulse has also unlocked the timing track. So in all the other effects, none of these have activated this timing track. None of these. This is all deselected, so you can't change the timing track. This is actually using the sound that it's getting from the waveform. From what I understand, Keith will correct me if I'm wrong, and hopefully he'll put a note in the comments below. So on the pulse, we have the ability to use the note onset, which is one of those wonderful Audacity Vampire plugins. So what the UV effect is effectively doing right now is it's reading the note onset timeline, and it's saying, okay, everywhere I see, and I'll zoom in, everywhere I see one of these individual tick marks, every one of these timing marks, I'll go ahead and turn them on. Everywhere I see one of these, I want this to flash one or two. I want it to flash one time. So every time it flashes, it's going to only flash whenever it sees this tick mark. Now, why is this helpful? Because if you have a part of a song where you want to add a fade down, fade down, fade down, fade down to show pulsating through part of a sequence, what's going to happen is you can go in and manually add your own timing tracks, select the VU effect, place it over top of those specific timing marks, and then go over here, add your actual, and this doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what. Here's like my mini spiral pixel trees. Okay, I know they don't look too pretty there, but it doesn't matter what the prop is. It could be a dumb RGB prop. It could be an AC prop. It could be any prop. And all you have to do is create your own timing marks. You can set it to pulse, and it will pulse on that timing track for that timing that you selected and laid it down for. So that's wonderful to help with your kind of short staccato sequencing if that's something that you want to have. So let's move on. We've got pulse. Now we have level bar. And it's actually going to mix some color here if you've got more than one color selected. I'll go ahead and just select the two, and we'll get rid of that. Let's go up here, and we'll change this one to level bar. So this again, once again, our render style is normal. Everything's default. So it's rendering. It looks like kind of a single channel chase or a single strand chase right here. A single strand chase across the mega tree. If I zoom out here and I put the single strand chase on here, you'll see that it kind of does the same thing. This is the single strand chase, but the difference is, here's the difference, whenever it's cycling through the colors. So you can load up your color palette with all these different colors. So every time it hits one of these on the level of once again in this instance it's reading the waveform, and it's going to go through all of these it's going to go through the waveform and pick up some significance that will allow it to go to the next segment and change color at the same time. So if you're looking for, once again, one of those specific beats, then you can set it up there. Now don't forget, we didn't play with this any, but I have this set to 6 bars, so I have a feeling it's taking 6 strings on my mega tree. And let's go ahead and move it up a little bit. Maybe that'll make it bigger or smaller. It's actually making it smaller, so a little bit more definition or a little less definition. So if we have like 2, so you only, oh, okay, maybe it's going into 3 segments, maybe it's going into 4 or 5 segments. So now if you want to chase something 4 times across the mega tree, this will kind of do it equally, maybe. So once again, this is, I haven't played too much with this specific part, but that's what it looks like to me. Moving on from level bar, we have level pulse. And let's see if the bars will have any effect on it. It doesn't look like it. Let's go to 1. So I'm not exactly sure how this one works. Like I said, I'm not an expert on all of these, but there's a lot of functionality that I've come to enjoy from some of them. Let's deselect some of the colors. And let's give it a little kick up here. There's 5, 6, 7. So we've got level pulse, and it's pulsing at a specific level, and it's directly related to the bars. And it's slower the higher the number, it's faster or more prevalent the lower the number. So yeah, That's what level pulse would do. You can change the level of the pulse by adjusting your bars, and that goes, of course, with the waveform. Go ahead and change. We go to level shape. We have no bars that we can change, so we've got shape here. This opens up this drop-down box. We've got circle, we've got fill circle, we've got square, we've got filled square, we've got diamond, and I'm not exactly sure what this is supposed to do.
Snow is falling.
Let's go ahead and turn the sensitivity down. Sometimes it doesn't do anything until we change some of the sliders on here. We can also get rid of slow down false. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. I haven't played with this one much, not gonna lie. Yeah, so maybe this is not functioning at the moment, but maybe Keith will have a look at it now because maybe he heard it on the video. So moving right along, we'll just go ahead and skip on to the next one. Event bar timing. If we go to this, it opens up your note onset or your timing track. So I have notes onset selected, and a lot of things have been deselected. So the events bar is not going to do too much for you. We have timing event bar, so it's taking a bar and going across the effect using the size of the bars. The more bars, the smaller the bar is that goes across. The bigger the bar, the less movement. So that's the number. If you wanted to move 5 times across the surface, let's see if we add some color. So it changes the color between each bump. So let's go ahead and put that as 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's doing that with each one of these timing marks on the note onset. Now, what if we change this to beats? And we activate. Let's go to beats and get rid of this. We have probably 8 beats here. So what it's going to do is it's going to do it right to the beat of the music, which now you can see it's kind of helpful. This is kind of like the step effect from the steps whenever you put down. Here's the single strand. I put that on the mega wreath. So you've got skips. That's what I'm thinking. So you've got the skips, and you can change the skips in the single strand, whereas in the VU meter, you can use event timing bar, and it will make a movement across an object per the number of times you want it to move across the object, and it will do it equally, hopefully, throughout the entire part of the effect using the timing track. So if it was bars and you did it 4 times, there's 2 bars selected, so it's only going to go the first time because there's only 2 bars. So if you see that here and deselect, there you go. There's 1 bar, there's 2 bars. So it's only going to advance twice. So if we did 2, then that'd be a big deal. 1 and then 2. So let's move right along. We've got event spike. If we select, let's go with beats. And as you can see, it's molding the color together. We have 2 events here. And let's go to the beats. And let's do 12 just to slow it down. So now you can see it's the higher the number, the smaller the width of the bar. Obviously traveling, and every time there's an event spike, which obviously it's going to the beats. If you want to get technical, let's break it down. Let's do 4, and we can go and change this to note onset. And you can see how that might work a little bit better with the music. Once again, there's a lot of playing with this specific effect.
Snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
So, moving right along, we got the timing event sweep. So this should be like I think it's kind of a morph. And let's go ahead and click on that. So it is kind of a morph. It's got 4 bars, so it's going to do 4 squares across, not 4 squares, but 4 segments across the mega tree. Obviously, you can go down here again and use the transformation style to render from the top to the bottom, the left to the right. And hey, here's even one I haven't talked about in a while. This is the layers blending box, and you can always, most people want the fade in and fade out, but there's also transitions that are listed here. And what you can do with those transitions is you can wipe. And what you can do is you can take the slider and move it to 45 degrees, or 25, and that will create this wipe as long as the effect is, let's see, this is 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, that's 6 seconds. Let's do a transition in as wipe for 3 seconds. So you can see it's going from the top left here down to the bottom right, and then the effect continues. And then we can also transition out for 3 seconds, and we'll do that wipe again, and we'll move the slider over to this side to 75. And now you can see how the effect has transformed once again. So that's the incoming 3 seconds and the outgoing 3 seconds. It doesn't look like it's doing much other than going straight down. So what if we change it to this, 57? The transition out should be, there you go. That's something a little different that you might not have known that could be done. And we'll fix that to 0. So once again, that's something you may have not known about xLights. Let's go in and change from the event sweep to timing event color. So now we've got the note onset, and every time note onset sees a timing mark, it's changing the color to go along with whatever it is that you're changing the color for.
Snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
So that there is kind of helpful. Let's say you only want the color red, and I think if you click on the morph button, it should fade out after each pulse. Let's try it.
Snow is falling again. It looks like a...
And it doesn't look like it did that, but like I said, it's playing with the effect.
Snow is falling again.
So there's not only one color selected, so it's not really doing much. Let's see if it does something to here, and we change this to beats.
Snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
So with the morph clicked, it's fading out through the effect without having to use the transition out time of like 0.75.
It's like a wonderland.
Oh, well, that was pretty neat. That's what I meant to do. So fade out, normal.
Wonderland.
Without using morph, and you can use a transition out, or you can use the morph. So again, some more functionality. Let's go back in and click on type, and we have jump. Might as well jump. Let's see. So now this is kind of like the curtain effect, where it is closing the curtain or opening the curtain. I can't remember which it is. I get so confused. But the bars slider is definitely activated, and it looks like there's 4. And the longer the number, or the bigger the number, the slower it takes to get through the entire effect.
Snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
And it looks like it's kind of jumping. In other words, the timing event jumps. So every time it's trying to travel that 32 length of bars, but it can't make it because by the time it gets to the next timing, it just shuts off and bounces back up. So it jumps. Let's go to jump 100. And I really am not going to be able to tell you the difference between the two there. But let's just play with it for a little bit. So higher number, shorter distance. Lower number, longer distance. Same as the other effect. I'm not sure exactly what the difference is between them. Also, I haven't mentioned this yet. We have a horizontal offset and a vertical offset. The vertical seems to be right here. Let's try playing with it. So it's moving it off to a negative spot there and a little bit further. Now if we move it over here, it's doing, it looks like about the same thing. So once again, don't know exactly what's going on there. Something you have to play with. Let's go ahead and select the next one, which is timing event pulse. And this is pretty much exactly what you see here. So for every beat, we had timing event color, and now we have timing event pulse. So I have a feeling it's not going to cycle through the colors.
The snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
So that makes it super easy. Now, some of you may heard that little bit of riff in the song. Let's change this to the note onset. And let's say you have a tree line. I have a tree line somewhere. Let's find the tree line. M-N-O-P-Q-R-S-T. Here we go. Tree line. Here's a tree line. We'll use the V, the letter V. So we have both tree lines. This is the pixel tree line. This is my twig tree line. And you can see sometimes I like to pulse the notes to the beat. Sometimes I want to have them like sing with the singer.
Snow is falling again. It looks like a
So it looks like it's kind of playing the piano with the beat of the music. So that's kind of a nice effect. I've done that on very short, like da 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 beats at the end of something, like the drum roll at the end of a song. I'll just throw this down and it picks it right up off of those last 4 or 5 timing marks that are on the note onset. So now we have note level pulse. Let's go ahead and check that out. I want to stay on this here. So we've got note level pulse. And
snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
And let's try changing, because the bars up here shows that there's more available changes. So if it's smaller, we have a little bit more fade out. The lower the number, the more fade out that we have.
Snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
And finally, we have note level bars. So let's update. That looks pretty funky. Now it looks like we have unlocked the note start and note end locations here, and these are MIDI numbers. So if you don't know what MIDI numbers is, this is a good time for you to go over to Google and have a good look at Google by searching MIDI numbers. And what a MIDI number is there's 88 piano keys notes in a keyboard, or on a piano there's 88 keys. So there's 88 notes. What they do is they give each number a note. Now there's actually higher notes and there's lower notes, and they're assigned a physical number, and we call those a MIDI number. When we take that MIDI number can be translated into a range, and if you have that range selected and you tell that note to start listening, you tell this specific note level bar to find and blink upon hearing any note within this range. So the range of 36 through 84. Note number 36, I mean, you have to go Google this. Let me try Googling real quick. MIDI numbers. And there is, thanks to Google, a MIDI note chart. So you can obviously go through that. Octave number 4, 5, 6, 7. These are like this is the common area. So 48 through 85 is like the mid-range of the piano, the low to mid-range. That's what we would sing at. So let's go ahead and set it to 48. It's already at 85. We'll go ahead and set it that way. And it looks like it's going to blink hysterically. So let's make this a bigger number. And if we go ahead and play it, let's see how it sounds. I have a feeling this is the number of segments that will go up across the top of the tree with 8 equal segments. So
snow is falling again. It looks like a wonderland.
And we can rotate this. Oh, I had it rotated accidentally. Oops. So there we go. That's the note level bar. I have 8 segments going across the mega tree there.
Snow is falling again.
So what if we did this with 4? Maybe that will speed it up. So if we do 8, and we are doing this over 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's do it over a short period. So it looks like it's trying to do it with each of the note levels that you can see. Every time it hears one of these notes, it's picking these notes out of the waveform and it's activating, I believe, and going in a segment of 8. So every time it hears a note in this range, it's actually activating the effect, causing the movement from the left to the right. So guys, that's about it for this. I will say that there is a vertical offset and a horizontal offset. When those are available, all it does is move the center of the effect from the left to the right, to kind of center the effect a little better, to make it look better. It's kind of like the vectors, the XY axis. This is kind of the same thing, but not the same thing. It does a similar, has a similar result. So I hope you find this video interesting. I hope it's helpful to you. I know it's kind of a long, rambly one, but there's a lot to the UV meter. There's also a lot to a lot of the effects. So if you're not taking the time, or if you haven't taken the time to sit down and really play with some of the effects that you can create with using the note level, with using the UV meter, there are a lot of wonderful things you can do. And at this time, I'm going to go ahead and insert a layer, and let's go in and let's do a little bit of playing with the best part, I think, which is the spectrogram, which is what we all kind of like to look at whenever when we're playing with the UV meter. We'll go ahead and put a couple colors on here. We can set the horizontal offset here. Let's see. The horizontal, that's left and right. So if we're at 0 here, and then we only have 8 bars selected, let's go 32. That way we get the full tree. And we can also take this and we can rotate this upside down or sideways, which is kind of neat, like I said. And I actually kind of like the waveform that way. It looks like you're driving down a road. Now, because we turned it sideways, we're only going up 32 pixels. Mine's 50 tall, so now I can make it taller. But you can't go past the number of pixels that you have. So that's kind of interesting. A lot of different things that you can do. So guys, I hope you get out there, test out the VU effect. Now that you have some ideas what you can do with layer blending, a couple little things that is... Excuse me. And also you can play around with the layer setting box and the transformations. Those are some of the most powerful parts of xLights that have been added in over the past 2 years. Thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, make sure you crush the like button. If you dislike the video, well then, you know, I don't I don't know. But thanks for watching in any event. Stay tuned for more. I'm always coming back with something different. So thanks for watching and have a great